Well, hey there, it's Catherine. Today we're going to use heat embossing to add small accents and details to our card making projects. If you're new to my channel, I hope you'll subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And also be sure to head over to my blog, catherinepooler.com. Lots more inspiration there. You'll also see the project photos and more details over there as well. Let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is take my piece of watercolor paper. I'm going to do a little color wash background here. I'm going to add a little adhesive so that it will help it stay a little bit flat because I'm going to add a lot of water. I have my Gonzai Tombi watercolors and I want to do a little bit of, I think I'm going to do a tiny bit of maybe the pearl and this copperish, and then a couple of these greens. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to wet down my cardstock. This is watercolor paper, and I'm just doing the top corner and the bottom corner. I'm looking at my color key right here to figure out which green I want to use, and I want this one right here. I just removed the colors that I want to use, and I'm just going to spray them down, get some color moving. I'm going to get my paintbrush wet. I'm going to grab some of this green and just wipe it across my cardstock. I'm going to grab a little bit of that green. Wipe my paintbrush off. Grab some of that gold coppery color. Maybe a little bit of this pearlescent. And I probably should have done my green at the bottom first before wiping off my brush. I'm going to add a little more water, and then I'm going to let that do its thing and dry. So my watercolor piece is dry and it has some serious shine on it. I love this background. So now it's time to move on. So I'm going to use the wonderful Wreath stamp set. I just adore this Wreath. And I'm going to ink it twice. First, I'm going to ink it with Simply Chartreuse. This is a paper tray ink color. And we'll stamp it up in the top corner there. Okay, so you know the cartoons where there's a sudden screeching halt of tires? Pretend you just heard that. I have had smarter moments. This is not a smart moment. I forgot what I was doing for a minute. I got all excited about that background and I just stamped. I really wanted to be using my Misty, and let me see if I can figure out exactly where this lines up. I guess if it's not exact, we're going to be okay. Then I want to do some ripe avocado. I'm not going to ink it completely. I'm just going to kind of do it a little bit spotty. And we have some spots that are darker than others. And then I'm going to wipe down my stamp. This is where the little accents part comes in. So I'm going to grab my Versamark ink pad and I'm just going to dab on certain spots of the wreath. Not giving a full inking anywhere. And actually, before I do that, I want to make sure that this is dry. And I probably want to do a little bit of deactivator on there. I'm going to use Wow embossing powder, so it shouldn't stick to places I don't want it to, but because I've added so much water and then this ink, it may still be a little bit wet, so I want to ensure that it's only going to stick to the places I want it to. The embossing powder, that is. I'm grabbing my metallic gold rich pale Wow embossing powder and I'm going to sprinkle it on. And then we're just going to get some basically like gold dipped leaves in spots. If you have too much embossing powder and want to remove some, you just take a little paintbrush and brush off embossing powder in some areas. And then we'll take our heat tool and heat it. And in a minute you will see the wonderful accent that is created from the gold tip leaves on the wreath. There we go. Now it's heating up. You can see that gold coming through. Now I can do what I meant to do the first time. I'm going to ink it up in Simply Chartreuse, stamp it, add a little bit of highlighting with ripe avocado. wash it off, and then do the highlighting with the Versamark and the gold embossing. So, you know, sometimes we don't get it right the first time, and I have the benefit of having this on film. Now, I could go back and refilm the whole thing, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna let you guys see my process. So this isn't at all how I wanted it to look, because I messed up. So when I did it the second time, I'm like, yes, yes! That's what I wanted it to look like. And then as I look at this piece, I'm thinking, no, I don't want two of them. So I went back to the drawing board. I have another piece of watercolor paper, and I did just a lighter green watercolor washed in the center, and I'm gonna stamp my wreath right in the middle. Now I have a larger piece than I need. Where is, oh, here we go. All right, so I'm going for the Simply Chartreuse first. I have a larger piece than I need, and I'm just gonna cut it down when I finish my stamping, and that will give me the ability to center this wreath the way I want it to be. And I'm gonna grab my ripe avocado and just kind of dab some color in there for highlighting and dimension. And then just like, oh, look at that, yes. Woo, loving it. So just like I did the other ones, I'm gonna wash this off. And you know, my brand new Versamark ink pad is getting green on it. So I'm gonna grab my old one so I don't continue messing that up. And I'm just going to dab on Versamark in a few key places. I am using Wow embossing powder, so usually you don't need a deactivator, but because I'm using water, like I said before, I already said this, I don't need to say it again. That should be pretty good. We'll just stamp this down, and then if there's Versamark in spots I don't want it, I can always use my paintbrush to remove some of it. Oh, yep, looking pretty good. Let me see, maybe a couple little spots. Just so it's not so gold. I just want, you know, little gold tips. And we'll emboss. Now I'm going to use this scalloped rectangle frame to cut out my wreath. Now, even though I have a magnetic platform here, this piece of watercolor paper is so warped that it is not laying flat. So I'm using a little bit of Post-it tape there to tack it down. And this is from the birthday journal card die. This will be available later this month on my website and my store when we have our grand opening. And got it all taped. Still got all that tape on the back. So there we go. This is more like it. I'm going to add this to a white layer and a white card base. I think I'm going to put dimensional adhesive on the back here, and yes, I'm so excited about how this is turning out now. Now my biggest problem is how to finish this off. I was thinking about adding some berries from this stamp set like that, but I'm afraid to stamp right on here. I think I'm loving how this looks, so maybe some little pine cones and maybe a little bit of linen thread and a greeting. So here I go again. This might not be the smartest thing in the world to do, but I really want a bow on here. I don't think I want to use linen thread. So, and I really love the bow that came with this wreath. Oh, yes. It came out good. I'm so excited. I've added some mounting tape to the back, and we'll just pop this right up on the front of the card. I really like the white card base with the white layer. I think it looks really elegant. Now there are so many sentiments that are gonna look awesome on this card. I'm gonna do a little bit of mixing of sentiments. So I have your lovely, and I'm just gonna ink up the your and stamp it on my white cardstock. And then I have wonderful. And then I'm just going to cut this into a little strip and add it to my card front. I thought about adding a few more things to this card. I thought about adding some pine cones, but over the bow like that, I felt like it was covering up the bow too much. And then I thought maybe I'll do a little bird. I absolutely adore the birds that came in this set. Well, I don't know. I think that looks pretty cute right there. So maybe I will add him. So I'll just add a little bit of glue on the back, but you can see you can keep it plain and simple just like this and have the gold tip leaves on the wreath shine, or you can add a few more embellishments to it. Whatever floats your boat. I hope you're inspired, and I'll see you again soon.